roll on our road trip here. Thanks for coming, everybody. Hope everybody had enough warning or enough information that we threw out there to you to get your interest in this. So we do appreciate you coming out today and just kind of roll through a few of the things that we're going to talk about today. Year-end closing. We're at December already for those of you on a calendar. Comes up quick every year, it seems like, but we'll talk a little bit about year-end closing process. Just where do you get your information, and we'll roll through a few things on that. There we go. And then some year-end updates. Those are always important, especially this year. There's a few things to consider with the year-end updates. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then some upcoming conferences for those of you that are conference goers. And we'll try to convince those that have not been to a conference to get out there and go, because they are a lot of fun. And then we'll talk about probably the reason everybody is here, the statement of direction for Dynamics SL and what Microsoft has to say about our product. And then we'll roll through some questions and answers. And then Dan has some introduction of some cloud options that we're going to talk about today and introduce a few things there with our partnership with Intact, which is a new cloud-based ERP solution. So we'll go ahead and roll through. Again, it's that time of the year. Year-end closing. Everybody, who's on calendar fiscal year or calendar year-end? Pretty much everybody. You guys are not. You rolled through already.
Yeah, we're September.
Right. You made it. You made it. So what did
Actually,
you use?
it's not closed yet.
Karen. All right. Karen Crawford, everybody. So what do you use a tool for year-end checklist or anything like that? What's your process when you're going through year-end? As far as just closing everything out. I mean, do you have a checklist that you use?
I use...
You've done it so many times you don't need to.
Well, actually, when I first started with SL, I got some checklists that I use for monthly. Yep. So my year-end closing really isn't any different than my month-end closing.
That's the answer right there. What I mean. And that's true. Some of the things that, especially if you go out to this partner source, customer source, same thing. Just go out, SL year-end closing. They've got some checklists. Basically, it's a document that walks you right through step by step. You're basically in your sub modules. You're going to run your AP trial balance. You're going to look at that total, make sure that it matches your GL AP account for basic accounting stuff. And basically, you're just making sure everything is posted, batches are all released, and it has a checklist that walks right through all those steps for you, so that when you're done, basically, just like Karen said, if you're doing this on a monthly basis, your year-end closing is really a month-end closing with another step where you just go and say, close the year, and it rolls everything forward. The only difference there is in the general ledger, it's going to take all that stuff and roll it into your retained earnings account and move it all forward for your beginning of the next year. So, but I urge you guys, who's good customer source users? Do you guys use that as a good resource? Good. Because that is a great resource for this type of stuff if you have a question. And also the help files in SL, I always urge new users to just hit the F1 and search for the help, because the online help in any ERP system today is typically pretty strong. So just a little reinforcement there as we're coming up on year end. These are great tools to use. They got checklists out there. Take advantage of those tools and clean up your year end. And year end updates. These just came out, I want to say a week ago. So the new 2012 year end updates. There are slight changes to the 1099 process. You can still probably get that form to line up. There is a little bit of movement on the boxes in the 1099 form, but not a huge issue there. There's some electronic filing updates that if you do file 1099s electronically, that you want to be aware of. And there's a good document that kind of goes through all that detail for you in the year-end update document. Another thing that has taken place in the W-2 reporting, I don't know who all has payroll here, Karen, So as far as payroll goes, there's that new healthcare rule or law that has been put in place, and the Yearend Updates actually talk about how you handle that. There's a box 12 that has a code in it, DD, for the employer's portion of.
Which you don't have to report if you have under 250 employees.
Is that right? Thank you for that comment.
Yeah.
They didn't spell that out in the
Yeah, that'll change.
Exactly. Yeah. After this year, that'll be at like 10 employees.
Well, supposedly they've rescinded that for employers under 250.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So, not sure anybody here needs to worry about that then.
You can't
But
keep up with all that?
that's what that side of the building is for.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask. I'm like, no, I don't want to get that deep into it. You guys can work through that. But anyway, those updates are available as a download for at Customer Source. And just a quick, easy, just like any update, it's got an executable, launch it. There is an installation document, it's very simple. You just roll through that. Pretty straightforward stuff. So I
But
urge
not
you
the
guys.
but not the new tax withholding cables yet.
We're still fighting over that.
Yeah, they don't even know.
That's why I'm thinking they probably have.
They don't even know what they're gonna do.
Yeah. I did not see the tax table
Okay.
stuff in there.
Don't
It
send
didn't,
me
it didn't
before
mention
they want
anything about that, so you're right, yeah. Wait, to be determined by the government. All right, upcoming conferences. Who has gone to Convergence? Me. Who wants to go? Everybody. Here's the answer to that one. So this year, Convergence is in New Orleans, which is awesome if anybody's ever been there. Convergence is just a great place to meet and greet some of the folks. And does anybody know this guy?
Sweet.
Matchbox 20. Right there, that's the reason to go. I mean, that's going to be awesome. So, partners are there, customers are there. You get to hear the speakers from Microsoft talking about where the products are going. It's the largest conference. I think it's the largest Microsoft conference that you will have. And I think last year they had over 10,000 people in Houston, Texas for Convergence, and it was pretty awesome. I mean, just huge in the way that they manage the conference. What's cool about it is there's so many different breakout sessions that you can go to for product-specific things, and people are introducing new third-party applications and things like this. It's just a great place to kind of get re-energized about where the products are going and what the ability for you in your software can do. So one thing that I always have to do is if you go to help or go to about and then why attend, it talks about why you should attend, so learn how to get most of your dynamic solution, but more importantly, how to convince your boss that you should go to Convergence. So they have this pre-formed document that, I got to do this every year because usually, like in New Orleans, I got to tell Bob that I won't try to earn beads again this year. So I go send him this email that is worded much better than I would do, and send this off to Bob. And I'll spell send to the boss. So now, and here's this big letter that they're going to send off, and I can just say, cool, send that message to Bob. So basically, it convinces him that it's really something that I should do. So great opportunity for you to, get out there. And again, it's just one of those conferences that, it's definitely worth going to. I mean, Steve, you've been to every one of them, I think. That
I missed one.
You missed one?
I missed one in there, so yeah.
And there was a really good reason. We just don't know what it is.
What's that? I missed New Orleans. I'm going
Oh, okay.
this year.
Hey, just some comments on Convergence. Hey, what do you think of the conference for somebody that hasn't gone?
It's valuable, and usually, especially if you take the opportunity to, talk to other customers and what they're doing with it, and, specifically meeting the developers, know, if you're looking for an innovative solution that an add-on or something along those lines, you know, that's kind of fun. It is fun.
Absolutely.
There's always some entertainment and good people and.
Yeah. Last year they had, you know, at different areas or in different locations throughout the city, they had, like we went to the Stones, what do they call that? Band, the Stones band that they imitate the Stones at one of the local bar facilities down there, and it was just cool. I mean, the place was packed, and you know, to see some of these people having a good time. It's a lot of fun. But there is a lot of content to it too, and you walk away from there just going, wow, I mean, it is truly amazing. So great conference to go to. And again, that happens once a year, typically in the spring. So if you can't make that one, there is a Dynamics SL user group that typically takes place in the fall. This just took place in Chicago. We were over in Chicago, and that conference draws quite a few, again, partners and customers, or excuse me, partners and users. But it is more of a user group, so you're actually getting the flavor of what the users are doing with the product. So there's a lot of, again, breakout sessions with that conference as well. Last year it was in Chicago. This year, again, it's going to take some convincing of Bob, but I think I can do it. This one is in Paradise Point Resort and Spa in San Diego. So, man, in the fall, come on.
I've been to San Diego in September. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. What a great, I mean, right there. I mean, that sells it. I don't even need to know what I'm doing. Let's go.
Hey, enjoy Convergence, Brian.
Right. Okay. But again, this is a great. What is it? This conference draws probably.
I think there were 450 people at the Chicago conference.
So it's a more intimate, and it's definitely more focused. I mean, this is just SL stuff. So your content is going to be basically what you guys are doing anyway. So. It's a great conference, and again, they typically throw in some fun stuff in there, and I don't know how you couldn't have fun there, but anyway, it's a great conference. So if you can't make the Convergence, this might be another, you know, alternative for you. It's a great way to meet your fellow users of SL, and again, like Steve said, you know, how they're using the product. That always enhances your mindset a little bit. Wow, they're doing that. Maybe we can enhance what we're doing as well. So great place to meet up with your fellow users of SL. So keep that in mind. And as Steve mentioned, Convergence signups are already out there. I'm not sure if the signups for the SL user group are opened yet. They typically wait a little while, but
they'll start hitting it like right after Convergence.
Yeah.
And I think that ticker on the Convergence early bird was about 60 days from today. So it must be roughly January or something.
Yeah.
There's a hefty discount still.
It is. It's definitely worth doing the early bird if you're going to go. So plan ahead on that. It'll save you some money. Great conference. So those are the conferences that you can take advantage of. Now, the roadmap that Dynamics or Microsoft is rolling forward. So kind of the layout of the land here. In 2014, we plan to release Dynamics SL9. Okay, so we can all take a breath a minute and bask in the glory of SL 2011 FP1 if you're on that, or you can take this year to jump up to that if you haven't already. So they're rolling out some pretty cool stuff, but again, we're taking that approach of we'll give it a year, get everybody up on the current stuff, and then we'll roll out a new version and roll forward. So what's going to be in SL9? Enhancing, and this is, I love how they word some of this stuff, enhancing the compelling project and core functionality that is available in Dynamics SL. Bob, you want to elaborate on that? Of course they are. Why would they not release something that doesn't enhance the core functionality? But it's a political statement.
One of the things they are doing is you'll start to notice if some of the feature sets that are coming out, like quick set that was available across products. Now, GP has always had one, but Business Analyzer is a good example of that. Business Portal has always been like that with GP and SL, but Business Analyzer came out and actually works with all 4 of their product lines. So they're trying to develop functionality and feature sets that can be taken advantage of in all the different product lines. So you're going to start seeing more and more of those kinds of things, which I think is a good thing for SL because I think there's probably more R&D done in some of the other product areas. So it's a good advantage for us to be able to take advantage of some of that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that going to be an excuse then to bring them all together at some time?
I am not hearing that whatsoever. You know, it's originally Project Green, when this first all came together, that was the original design. And I think as they got into it and they realized the Herculean task to do that, I don't think there's any, you know, from what I know and the meetings I've been in at Microsoft, there is no project anywhere talking about, you know, how to migrate all these. And I think they also learned that there's a reason there's 4 different products, that there's different niches that they play in. So I think there's, you know, until a product has all the different feature sets, you know, which, you know, could be 10 years from now.
Right.
So there's really there's not even any kind of inkling of, hey, here's a transition plan. You know, it's all on still developing in all product lines, you know, trying to take advantage of some of the similarities or, you know, best of breed kinds of things like these utilities that become available for all the product lines. I think is where you're going to start seeing. You know, I've said long ago, I think at some point, I think you're going to start seeing, you know, different, I hate to even use the word modules, but different pieces of functionality, you know, where maybe I might want to use AX for manufacturing and SL for project and GP for financial. You know, I mean, it'll give you, I think that would probably play more in where you're going to have different modules or areas of functionality which you can mix and match. But even that's a pipe dream too. That's a long way off.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the structures between the different products, they're so, and they are quite different. So like Bob said, it'd be a huge task to try to mingle all that together. Continue to invest in creating web services to extend the solution to be either deployed on-premise or through partner hosting. So, and we've run through these two different models. Most of our customers are on-premise users. We have had customers in the past that have done the partner hosting. And there's benefits and disadvantages to that whole thing too. You got the maintenance of the hardware. If you have on-premise, you got to do all that. Whereas by hosted solution, you're just having somebody else manage all that for you, and they're doing the updates and stuff on the hardware side. You're still responsible for the software upgrade portion of it, but as far as the infrastructure, that's all taken care of. So they're going to continue to roll out different ways to give you some options there of how to host your application. And then, just like we talked about, aligning SL with new product releases across all the Microsoft tools, meaning Windows, Windows Server, SQL, and like Bob said, with the other ERP systems as well, so that we can take advantage of some of that development that's happening in a different product. They'll be able to easily roll that into our SL product as well. So that's one thing that they're trying to accomplish through development. So the commitment, what they're doing now, and we've seen a little bit of this already, where rather than doing these hot fix, I mean, if you remember the old days of SL, where boy, it seemed like every month we had a new hot fix or multiple hot fixes out for a whole bunch of stuff. They were going through a tough time, but it was just, what hot fix are you on? And you had to really try to figure out what you had in your system. So they've kind of pulled back on that a little bit, but I think they got to a point where they said, you know, we're not going to release anything until we got a bundle and then we'll throw it out there. Well, the disadvantage of that is then there's some functionality that people are having to wait for, which they might want to have. So what they've done is kind of come to a happy medium and said, we're going to do a small release. You know, like this feature pack was a major release. So this was one that rolled up a lot of things. But the R2, SLR2 that came out, was that in the spring? That was more like a mid-release. So every once in a while you might see one of these mid-release things come out. It's not going to be as big of a deal, but it's going to incorporate some functionality that you could take advantage of. I mean, if there's bugs and things out there, which we're seeing, truly we're seeing less and less of that stuff.
Is that SP1? You're talking about SP1? Or
SP1, I'm sorry,
okay.
SP1.
Sorry,
Yeah.
R2, I was thinking there was an SP2. Maybe.
No, I'm sorry, you're right,
Okay.
SP1.
Okay.
And then feature pack, so SP1 came out in the spring,
Right.
and then the feature pack came out at the SL user group. They actually launched that as GA, so that's what they're trying to do, kind of feed you some of that stuff as it comes out, but not bombarding you every month with hot fixes that, hey, we got this solution for you. So you'll see those rollouts, and we try to inform our customer base of those rollouts as they come out, so that everybody is aware. And again, if you're a consistent user with customer source, they usually splash that up on the screen, and you should be able to see those things out there as well. So where have we been, where are we going? All right, so this is kind of the layout of the land here. A little bit difficult to see, but in 2011, we released SL 2011, and what did that give us? We had new Dynamics user interface enhancements, so you had the nice, cool screen, looked a little bit different, so those were the big things that came into that. Report and analyze information more easily. And did the quick queries come out in 2011? Okay, so that's where that comes from. So anybody that has SL 2011 has the quick queries, so if you're not taking advantage of those, talk to me later, or Bob, or anybody. Again, a great tool that that was one of the things that when they rolled out 2011, people were really hungry for. How can I get my information out of the system without having to go to my IT person or go to our consultants and say, can you customize this report for me? I just need this little bit of information. Well, the quick queries give you the ability to, by module, you can go in and search through data, transactional data, historical data, that type of stuff, and you can really customize those queries. You can save them off so you can just have it pop up whenever you need it. So that's a huge issue for 2011. And then manage business documents, connectivity, enhancements, corporate performance management. I'm not quite sure what that is, but anyway. Again, they sometimes throw these things in there. So in 2012, we had the SL 2011 R2, which is the role-tailored stuff. That came out, R2, I'm assuming, is that the FP1?
It is.
That's the FP1 R2. So with R2, you've got role-tailored stuff. So when you open up your home page, now you can have role-tailored reports show. You can drill into your AR balances and things right from your home screen. Those things are neat features. Rather than just seeing that big white splash, if that's all you're seeing when you open up SL, again, talk to us. We can help you make it a little bit more flavorful up there. They enhance the time and expense web services and project and system-wide enhancements, and then Office 365 support. Is anybody taking advantage of Office? Anybody have Office 365? I should ask.
I think Zalstra did it.
Yeah.
Well, they started off with the Outlook email portion of it, right?
Exchange is also using it for right now.
Which I have heard any feedback from them.
I think early on it was a bit of a struggle, but I think they've ironed some things out. So.
And then, as we mentioned, in 2014, we're going to roll out the SL9. So, again, continued integration or innovation targeted at the small to mid-sized market. And then the next generation user interface. So we're going to see probably another change to the look and feel of the menu system. And then compelling project business functionality. So of you who are project users, there's some additional, and that's one thing that SL strives for. Very strong in the project market. So there's a lot of enhancements out there driven at project. So you'll see that time and time again in SL is that they're really driving the project stuff. Rapid time to value. Anybody want to explain that statement? Rapid time to value. It's It's one of those things.
Implements easy, right?
Implements easily, and is your enablement. So, and then we roll out to 2016. So again, this is helping you understand that Microsoft is committed to this product. We're rolling this thing out 2016. We've got plans ahead to continue to improve and enhance the product. So again, continued innovation into the market. We're going to try to, simplicity, productivity, again, rapid time to value. So trying to take that cost of ownership away, you know, by, again, the web-based functionalities. Those tend to be a little bit easier to deploy because you can affect so many users at one time. So that type of enhancement is what they're talking about there. So again, looking out to 2016, so we've got you know, a plan out there, and we'll start hearing more, I'm sure, at Convergence about the SL9. They always kind of throw some sneak peeks out there for you, and they might even introduce the new user interface for us, so we'll see how that works out. I'm wondering how that might play into the Windows 8 functionality. They may or may not, who knows. I'm not crazy about it yet, so I don't know if anybody's using Windows 8, but so that's kind of the roadmap for SL at this point. So I'm not going to be on SL9, right? You know, I might not jump to the latest version. Well, Microsoft also wants you to know that we're going to support you for a while. And I think this is new, the extension of the 5 years. I know that they initially had 5-year support. So if you're on, let's say you're on SL7, for example, you're going to have support from Microsoft through 2012. Okay, so if you're on SL7 this year, what's that?
You no longer have support because
Well,
it's past October.
Not quite true. You have 5 more years. They have an extended support beyond the original 5. I mean, typically it always has been 5-year support, and then, man, just upgrade already, you know. So what they're telling you now is that we actually are extending support for that product. And I think because SL7 was probably a very stable product, so they feel comfortable about extending support on it. So that's kind of the draw. On 6.5, yeah, it was a little iffy. I don't know if I'd go out 10 years on that. We've done a couple upgrades from 6.5 already. So so they're extending that out to 2017 with an extended plan. I'm not sure if that costs more to be on that extended plan. Do you know anything about it?
The level of support is different. It is a paid-for service.
Okay.
I mean, so like you do anyways in a paid-for incident that you have them. But what they won't do is any particular changes for that particular version.
You know, the hot fixes and stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah, they'll do security updates, but they won't do hot fixes or design changes or anything like that.
So if I call support, if I have a problem, something didn't work, or
Yeah, they should support you.
they still should support.
Or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, in the past, I think what would happen if we ran into a customer who was on 5.5, for example, I just upgraded somebody that was on 5.5. If they ran into an issue, which they did, their server finally died, which it should have about 5 years ago. They reinstalled, had some issues. Well, they had some problems with some of their data, and you know, as one of those scenarios, well, we can't help you with. I mean, Microsoft's not going to do anything because they're on. It's not a supported version anymore, so they're kind of stuck at that point. But it wasn't as big of an issue that would stop them from doing anything. But that's the situation you get in if you fall too far behind.
So one thing to mention though is they do not put out year-end updates or tax updates.
Great.
So it's out of mainstream support.
That's
With the exception of this year, because the partners grumbled about the timing of both Great Plains and Solomon actually had versions expire in October, and we're kind of like, can you at least just give the year-end updates out?
2 months,
Because you're not going to get everyone. I mean, they're pretty stable versions that a lot of people are on, so
Yeah.
it's like we'll never get everyone converted in that time frame. So they agreed this year to actually do year-end updates for
Yeah,
SL7.
that's a great point. Yeah, because that usually becomes the concern. It's like, oh no, they're not offering that year-end update for my version. So again, they're extending this stuff out. So theoretically, you got really 10 years on your software. So if you didn't make a move from today, you'd still be supported through either 2017 or 2021. So no fears, relax, but we encourage you to upgrade. Do you guys have any questions at this point before I turn it over to Dan?
We heard anything about Crystal and FRX dropping in the versions? I mean, FRX is obviously going to...
Right, FRX is the last version. Actually, you can still run FRX in 2011 FP1
Right.
and straight through. It's just not, for any new installs, you're not getting it. It's Management Reporter. So that's the path. So FRX is kind of fallen to the wayside. If you do have it currently, you can continue to use it without a problem. We've got customers that are doing both. We've converted, and we got customers that are like, I got too many Excel spreadsheets, locked into my financials, so I'm not moving this thing over.
Is Crystal still in there?
Crystal is still in there. As much as they talked about that a
Yeah,
couple
they were
years
for a
ago,
while, yeah.
everything was going to be SSRS.
Right.
I think there's actually one report in SL that's a SSRS report, the trial balance.
There's a few more now, but.
It's
They're
not,
not pushing like they were
it's a
originally.
huge task to run through. I mean, that would be huge. So, yeah, I don't see Crystal going anywhere. They haven't really talked about making a move to anything else. They're encouraging people to, use SSRS, but as far as the product itself goes, they haven't really made a move on that. So.
And FP1, have you got any feedback yet? It's a uninstall, reinstall.
Correct. Yep.
And it messes with customizations as well.
Your typical full upgrade. You export your customizations, re-import them, and test them.
Right. And SP, have they talked about an SP2 that is not an F feature pack?
Not an uninstall, reinstall?
Yes.
I don't think they are going to.
Because SP1 wasn't.
It would be sometimes they do a parallel track, but I think some of the stuff they need for Business Analyzer, did heavy requirements on database changes, so.
Because feature pack enhancements I'm not really interested in, but I get the benefit of, the service pack aspect of that
Right.
feature pack.
Right.
But if the cost benefit
Sure.
of doing a feature pack, I think
Yeah,
they're doing
I don't think there's going to be a service pack that's the same as the feature pack until they have enough bundle that they'll release it.
I haven't looked, and I should look, but are they still doing the rolled up? So if you got, say, Service Pack 1, and at some point they'll typically roll up all their bug fixes
Right.
into one kind of cumulative fix.
Yep.
And I don't know if you looked through, but in my opinion, when I was watching the hot fixes hit after Service Pack 1 came out, I finally at some point I was like, I'm not a chance.
Right.
Because there were a ton of them that were really relevant to us, and I haven't looked. Have they done that since
And
SP1?
that would have been rolled up into FP1.
Okay, so they're still not. So they're not
I don't believe there's
aggregating
a rolled up service pack.
hot fix.
A hot fix, right. And I think that's what they're trying to get away from, where they.
Because you see this big hot fix or whatever that would go, okay, it has all these
Right,
other hot fixes
yeah.
that are kind of run into it, and I haven't
Correct.
looked and see if they're.
The one thing too I know that kind of, and I don't remember if this is 2011 or back on 7.0, where even the installs, they've fixed their process, so when the service pack came out, a lot of times you had to do the client install, then do the SP client install right on top of it, you could then roll it together.
Yeah, that was.
They kind of heard a lot of feedback that, let's make this simple. I think
Yep.
Right. So they're rolling their
Yeah.
their hot fixes into the.
Anything else? And again, we're here, especially as you get to year end, if you needed help with the year-end updates or anything like that, let us know. We're always here and willing to help. So, hope this was valuable. Everybody get something out of what we talked about. Awesome. All right, Dan.
Thanks.
All yours.
Thanks.